if you are in Asia, in the Asia Pacific region, good morning if you are in Europe or Africa, good evening if you are in the Americas, whatever you are, nice to meet you. I really appreciate the invitation from PGS to be together with you here, sharing some thoughts on the brain protection topic and supply chain visibility. Just for you to know this, I'm actually recording this presentation. Just a couple of days ago, I came to know that I would be traveling, actually flying at the moment the event is happening. So my apologies. But anyways, I really hope the content that I'll be sharing with you here would be valuable to everyone. I'm sharing my screen right now. And the topic I'll be covering here, as I said, brand protection in the context of supply chain visibility. What happens at the intersection of both domains, if you will. My name is Leandro Oliveira. I'm a member of the healthcare leadership team at the GS1 global office. And let's get into it. The agenda here that I have to share with you, 4 quick topics, couple of slides on the GS1 introduction, on what GS1 is about, couple of slides here, the supply chain visibility definition, what this is, and looking beyond the brand protection and supply chain visibility pillars by themselves as isolated domains, but looking into synergies, similarities, and things that can happen when we merge both topics into something meaningful from a business perspective. And finally, the path to success, a couple of points that I'd like to bring to everyone's attention as well. So starting here with the GS1 introduction, what GS1 is. GS1 believes in the power of standards to transform the way we work and live. It's a not-for-profit organization, global, neutral organization that develops standards looking to supply chain efficiency, supply chain automation, supply chain transparency. It all started almost 50 years ago with a packet of chewing gum with the first barcode. As you can imagine, the usage of barcodes themselves, as well as smart sensors in the context of IoT and Industry 4.0 that we are living at the moment, those things have evolved a lot in the last decades. GS1 standards are proven, open, and benefit from collaboration with respected global companies and local SMEs. Everything that is built within the GS1 context comes from business representatives, business and IT and engineering, whatever functional areas, but representatives from the industry side, distributors, hospitals, retailers, solution providers. It's pretty much the knowledge built by people over time that come together and help to define those standards. GS1 has a strong governance in place to keep those standards updated, created, and maintained. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to representatives from different sectors of the industry. GS1 Global works with retail, food, other technical industries, transport, logistics, and healthcare, of course. It is present in 150 countries. It has 116 member organizations or offices spread across the globe. It means that even we have some of those offices in specific countries. Some of them are actually supporting multiple countries. The reach here, as I said, is 150 countries. Some of you may not know the amount of products scanned throughout the globe nowadays in a daily basis is about 6 billion sellable units. So we're talking about 6 billion bips every day. More than 1,300,000 users worldwide and about 2,500 employees. I'm personally not a GS1 employee per se, work as an independent consultant, but I'm speaking to you today as a member of the GS1 Global Healthcare Leadership Team. This is a voluntary type of work. GS1, by the way, has an election cycle every July in a yearly basis. It opens spots for representatives from different companies to join the leadership team. Nowadays, we have a group of 20 plus members and representatives from industry, hospital chains, retailers, solution providers, distributors, and so on, and even some of the member organizations as well. So in theory, anyone could actually get involved and be a member of the leadership team. Moving up to supply chain visibility, there are many definitions out there. I heard a lot of them already. And the one that makes more sense to me, personally speaking, is the ability to track materials as they move throughout the supply chain, but not just tracking materials, tracking their transformation process as well. So tracking materials as well as the transformation that happen to them as they move throughout the value stream. From a definition standpoint, it sounds simple, but from the execution point of view, it's definitely not. Just to give you some insights here, it means from an execution perspective, we need to have processes and systems in place to know where raw materials are sourced from, to track raw materials and finished goods as they travel through the value stream, being in control of how and where they are stored, how raw materials are consumed, and what exact finished goods are produced as a result. And we're talking about batch traceability here for the ones familiar with the process. Tracking of materials in transit. A lot of solutions nowadays with geolocation of trucks, vessels, airplanes, and products throughout the supply chain worldwide. And this is not simple, of course, to make it happen, right? Tracking consumers' interactions as well. This is another interesting and very valuable objective, I would say. One of the use cases as well in this domain, to track the consumer interactions with finished goods, leveraging mobile technology, the actual physical package with some sort of identification recognized by a mobile technology, online content. We can even talk about augmented reality and many other technologies that are being used nowadays. Last but not least, the consolidation of data to generate information and insights for business decisions. Everything to do with data and analytics and data-driven decisions, right? So this is what happens when we put into the execution perspective the supply chain visibility domain. One of the core capabilities, I would say, within the supply chain visibility area is about product identification and traceability. And many industries are facing regulatory impact in this sense. Alcoholic beverages, tobacco, those two sectors specifically having nowadays different regulations, typically coming from the tax department when it comes to food and drugs, coming more from the health authorities, side of the government, I would say. But anyways, there are many industries nowadays facing some regulatory impact. I'm just bringing the main ones here. But something important for us to keep in mind is that when it comes to those 4 pillars, the technology components, software platforms, use cases, and global standards, they are kind of similar, and they represent more or less the same basic infrastructure or the same basic foundational components, I would say, for those solutions to be implemented. Okay, so we are here relying on similar solutions to solve those issues. When we talk about technology components, we have smart sensors, barcodes, print and check systems, vision systems, tunnels, systems for different levels of manufacturing operations, for example, interoperability, integration, different protocols, data consolidation, reporting, validation, qualification, engineering in general. When we talk about software platforms, we can talk about cloud-based, traditional cloud-based solutions, blockchain, solutions that are more internally focused for internal business problem statements or pain points, or other software platforms that have the ambition or the objective to actually integrate the supply chain with a more external focus. So really talking about supply chain integration, software platforms that are connecting IT and OT, right? A corporate network with shop floor automation network, and all value that can be explored out of this convergence, right? IT and IT-OT convergence is something that is also happening for a relatively long time and increasing, a big trend across the industry. When it comes to use cases and global standards, we would talk a little bit in more details on the next slides. And when we have a broader perspective, so looking beyond, right? Looking beyond the basic brand protection use cases or supply chain visibility use cases, when we look into all of those technology components that I have mentioned, those 4 pillars, and how it has evolved throughout the years, mainly looking into the last 10 years, we know that it all started with the supply chain security concern, right? A lot of countries putting up some regulations to make sure or to enhance the integrity of the supply chain, mitigating risks with illicit trade. When it comes to the healthcare sector, for example, a lot of countries, starting with Turkey and Argentina and US and Europe and other countries coming along. The other industry sectors I have mentioned. In the food sector, we have the FESMA, FSMA. In the United States, other countries are also discussing about regulations to mitigate illicit trade on the food sector. And actually, use cases related to food contamination, right? Investigations that are happening out there. It all started initially, again, with supply chain security on mind. The second thing that came into play was the brand reputation. And this is it goes a little bit beyond brand protection itself. When you talk about brand reputation, we are also talking about the image of the brand itself, how the consumer is actually perceiving the brand, right? It's not just about illicit trade, but also about reputation. Companies also started to realize that with this basic infrastructure in place, with products having more information codified in barcodes or smart sensors or whatever technology we are talking about, it creates the means for more supply chain automation and efficiencies, everything to do with manufacturing operations, warehousing management, changing from manual processes, relying on visual inspections or visual checks, right? Moving to reliance on validated systems, and more automation definitely brought a lot of efficiencies when it comes to supply chain operations. We also have end consumer engagement in the healthcare sector, physicians, patients. In the other sectors, we may be talking about final consumers that can explore or that can have more meaningful experience with the brand itself, getting additional information about the product, or the brand owners getting more information about their products, where they are, the location where they have been scanned, and a lot of different benefits here with end consumer engagement. And finally, sustainability and circular economy, something that is being discussed a lot and has everything to do with supply chain visibility, and why not brand protection as well. I will talk in a little bit more details in the next slides about this. So this broader perspective and this mindset evolution over time, how companies are actually exploring those technology components, looking beyond the traditional use cases that brand protection, supply chain visibility brings, to explore additional benefits. And here, some of them are described. So it pretty much enabling strong business cases and ultimately competitive advantage. Just to name a few, okay, we are talking about regulatory compliance and illicit trade risk mitigation. That's the basic one. We also have operational automation, supply chain efficiencies, internal productivity, removing bottlenecks, better management of inventory, supply chain integration, VMI agreements and operations, data exchange, trading partners, alliances, real-time traceability, moving supply chains closer to a just-in-time type of operations, better planning, control towers giving more visibility about what's going on the ground, right? Sustainability, strategy, and differentiation. Here we have circular economy, carbon footprint, recycling visibility, and others. In zooming in just a little bit on that aspect. When we talk about circular economy, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about challenges that alcoholic beverage companies, for example, have with their glass bottles that after consumption can eventually be found at the hands of bad guys, right? Guys that would try to make money with illicit trade. Same thing can happen in the healthcare sector as well. A great example would be high value added products that would end up, or their packaging, secondary packaging component, for example, could end up in a garbage in a hospital, and people reusing the secondary packaging or even the primary packaging to put anything they want out there, but using a valid, I would say, package component, which creates a lot of concern. So when we talk about circular economy, we are talking about a proper destination to those packaging components, regardless what material we are talking about here: cardboard, glass, metal, plastic, doesn't matter. But how responsible a brand owner can be, giving a proper destination at the end of the product life cycle to its materials, and making sure that risks with illicit trade are mitigated. Carbon footprint, there are several companies out there trying to have a full end-to-end traceability combined with carbon footprint information, regardless it's related to the carbon emissions to produce the goods, or carbon emissions during transport, whatever it is. This type of information combined with the specific identification at the product level, and a way for the consumer at the end of the supply chain to have some visibility about it, is something that a lot of companies are currently trying to do, increasing transparency as well, and moving to the other topic here: provenance, transparency, fair labor practices, farm market practices, and finally, consumer engagement and brand loyalty, which is a differentiation at the consumer's eyes. So at the end of the day, all of those use cases, and there are many more out there, just put a summary here to help us brainstorm a little bit what's happening out there, and how all of those technology components combined with very smart business cases can create competitive advantage to businesses around the globe. Finally, talking about the path to success, there are two main points that I would like to explore here. First one is the reliance on global standards. There's no way, solutions as complex as the ones I have been mentioned here to be deployed without relying on standards. Whatever it is, on the solution provider side, software solutions, and how systems would connect and exchange data using common protocols, ensuring interoperability, or if it is with the physical packaging identification, regardless you're using a barcode, an RFID tag, a BLE sensor, Bluetooth, NFC, you name it. In all of those scenarios, global standards are at the heart of it, at the heart of those solutions. We have several different, I would say, standards based on the overarching GS1 umbrella. We can talk about the GDSN here, which is very connected to product master data and how to exchange master data across the supply chain. The digital link solution, which is in a recent standard, by the way. Digital link is a very recent standard. Some companies are already using it across the globe, and could be a very nice ally when it comes to connect end consumers or even customers downstream in the supply chain with additional product information and more value added in finding synergy from both the physical packaging and online content and technology and mobile technology. Verified by GS1 is another one, also aiming to give more confidence to consumers that the product they are taking is the original one, following some specific product characteristics that needs to be uploaded into a cloud solution. We have ISA ISI 95. This is a standard more connected to the shop floor automation, I would say, or warehousing shop floor automation, regardless which site we are talking about here. But when we have a combination of equipment, devices, software, yeah, the ISO 95 is the foundation and being used by most of the solution providers nowadays, globally speaking. And finally, OpenSCS working group. Yeah, this is a very interesting area here, relying on other global standards like OPC, a very close partnership with the OPC Foundation, and making sure that solution providers, mainly companies that manufacture equipment that would go into production lines or warehousing automation, mechanization and automation, ensuring pretty much, or ensuring more interoperability when it comes to equipment from different solution providers, trying to remove the black box concept and making sure that once you buy a device from one vendor, it can easily get connected to a device from another vendor. Finally, the second pillar here of the path to success to me is strategy. And the strategic path is arduous, but it's simple, okay? It's simple. It's simple in the sense of what needs to be done. Let's put it this way. But it's complex and arduous from an execution point of view. First step, foundational capabilities. Process, systems, equipment in place. It's not simple. I have seen companies with, in a hypothetical scenario here, with 10, 15 packaging lines, a specific site that, in this case, something between 10 packaging lines, not fully automated, not fully manual, average one, regardless the industry sector. For those technology components we are discussing here, it may take something between 1 and 2 years to get implemented, just with the foundational process, and it's pretty complex from an execution standpoint again. But building these foundational capabilities. Second one is picking the right use cases, choosing the right technologies, choosing the right partners. Again, easy to say, hard to implement. When it comes to partners, this is not like, going to a supermarket, looking to the shelf for a solution that you think would suit what you're trying to do. But it's about an assessment, a deeper assessment in terms of the partner's capabilities, experiences, and connection with the actual use cases you have, the right technology choices as well. In the use cases and the technology are decisions that should happen on the business side. And once you have a clear perspective about this, and by the way, by choosing the right use cases and the right technologies, this is one of the steps to create some of the competitive advantage that we are talking about here. And then the partners or solution providers come into play, right? Third one, differentiation mindset and change management. This is all about, how can I do what I need to do from a brand protection perspective to mitigate risks of illicit trade, to create more visibility across my supply chain, but at the same time, putting something in place, strategically speaking, again, with the right use cases and the right strategy that would create some competitive advantage comparing to my direct competitor, right? Change management is the key to make it happen. It takes time. It's not a sprint. It's more like a marathon. We are talking about a program that may be phased out and executed, also respecting the velocity that the company can make that change. but with a long-term vision. And the most important point is that in order for you to generate some or more muscles when it comes to competition in the market, and making sure this differentiation is perceived by your final consumer, it requires some long-term vision and a direct connection with the business strategy. So that's what I had to share today with you. Here you have my details, phone number, QR code pointing to my LinkedIn profile. I'll be glad to connect with anyone moving forward. I'd be glad to take questions, one-to-one basis via LinkedIn or by phone, WhatsApp. And again, appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. I hope you have enjoyed the presentation and at least, if at least a couple of points here helped you, giving you new insights or things you didn't have realized or noticed before, I'll be happy. Have a great rest of the event. All the best. Bye-bye.